When college students talk to each other, they're not just chatting. They're shaping the way they understand health. And the research backs this up. At the center of it all is narrative theory, the idea that stories aren't just information, they're how we make sense of the world. Scholars like Ratson argue that narrative helps people interpret health messages, not as facts on a page, but as lived experiences. Research also shows that stories work because they use characters and plots, things our brains actually naturally latch onto. So what happens when those stories come from peers? Studies show that peer relationships have a powerful impact on mental health, safety, awareness, and even future planning. Research makes it clear. Supportive friendships boost well-being and create a sense of security. Peer conversations carry emotion, trust, and reliability. That's why Dudley's review found that narrative-based communication often outperforms traditional fact-heavy approaches. Physical activity is a great example. Students who feel supported by friends are more likely to stay active, join clubs, or participate in intramural sports. These groups don't just promote exercise. They create social networks where healthy habits spread naturally. One theme keeps emerging: the stories students share with each other about stress, sleep, food, or motivation. These all shape their choices far more than we tend to acknowledge. Peer-to-peer conversations aren't just background noise on campus. They're one of the most influential forces guiding healthy practices. When you look at the research on college students, something surprising stands out. Studies on peer conversations and studies on healthy behaviors almost never talk to each other. We know peers influence health, and we know stories shape behavior. But very few researchers have actually looked at how students use stories in real conversations to negotiate their own healthy practices. To understand how healthy behaviors actually form, we need to understand the stories students tell each other, which leads to the central question of this project. How does narrative theory help explain the ways college students negotiate healthy practices in peer-to-peer conversations? To understand how students actually talk about health, I used a qualitative approach because this kind of research depends on real stories, real voices, and real context. Focus groups allowed students to speak naturally, and those conversations became the core data I analyzed. First, students rely on each other's stories as roadmaps. In the focus groups, participants kept returning to one theme: consistency. They talked about friends who stuck to routines, going to the gym, eating better, or simply showing up every day, and how that discipline rubbed off on them. One student admitted he wasn't going in a healthy direction, but watching his friends stay committed helped him climb out of what he described as a hole I was digging myself. These stories became proof that change was possible. Even small habit changes matter. One participant described how switching to a healthier diet felt uncomfortable at first, but the long-term payoff kept them going. These weren't dramatic transformations, they were relatable. And that's what made them persuasive. Second, students value honesty, but only when the environment feels safe. Many participants said they're comfortable sharing struggles with close friends, but they also admitted that talking about poor habits, like not exercising for months, can feel embarrassing. Some friend groups tease or call each other out, and while that could be playful, it can also shut down vulnerability. Students said they wanted to help each other, but they need a judgment-free space to do it. The takeaway? Openness fuels healthier choices, but only when the students feel supported rather than judged. Finally, stories persuade best when they feel real. Participants said they don't want vague advice or dramatic before and after claims. They want believable progress, something they can actually imagine themselves doing. Seeing a friend get stronger in the gym or stick to a routine gave some students confidence before they even tried it themselves. Their friends' stories acted like evidence. habits. Social media, on the other hand, was seen as unreliable. Influencers often exaggerated or oversimplify. Students agreed that trusted peers carry much more weight because their stories are grounded in real life. Across all three findings, one theme kept resurfacing. Discipline becomes contagious when shared. Students describe the gym, club sports, and intramurals not just as fitness spaces, but as communities. Places where routines, encouragement, and stories circulate. A judgment-free environment made it easier for both outgoing and reserved students to open up. When the space felt safe, their stories flowed, and so did the motivation. In the end, this research shows something simple but easy to overlook. The conversations students share every day between classes, in dorms, on late-night walks, are shaping their health more than any poster, program, or app ever could. These stories become the quiet forces that build habits, confidence, and community. And that leaves us with a question worth carrying forward. If our stories influence the people around us, what kind of stories are we choosing to tell? Because in a place like college, where identities are still forming, the way we talk to each other doesn't just reflect who we are, it helps determine who we become.